From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody. The gang is all here for a month-long stay in the great bowling city of Lockport, New York. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Beat the Champ. We will be here at Allie Brandt Lanes for the next month. We always get great bowling up here, Sue. This is a wonderful city where people really love the sport, and we've got a good lineup of bowlers, not just this week, but for the whole month. But we started off with our returning champion on a 3-game winning streak. It's Josh Nowak, the first guy up today.
Yes, and he put on a great show for us last month. It'll be a whole different issue this month because, again, you're changing houses. Not his favorite house, and he's got some left-handers coming at him, which happen to score very well here.
Yeah, some experienced left-handers on the schedule for today, including Pat Brick, Jason Ciliberto, and John Danielewicz. Combined, along with Josh Nowak, almost 30 appearances on the show for this week.
Right, and very strong in tournament play. So they bowl a lot of things outside of the area and get a lot of experience. So they come here, and this actually kind of seems easy to them because they've seen so much difficulty in the conditions they face.
Yeah, we're going to have great bowling here this month. We're also right smack in the middle of summer, which means you're going to find some other fun ways to stay busy, maybe a little bit of miniature golf out here, too.
Yeah, at Allie Brandt, there's so many things to do. It's not just bowling. I mean, they have this great mini golf course, and maybe you'll see me out there soon.
Can't wait. So we got a great month of bowling, and maybe even Janelle doing a little golfing. It's Beat the Champ in Lockport, and let's get rolling.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with our returning champion, Josh Nowak. Swept the show last week. Coming to a new house. Always a little bit of a challenge for the champ coming to a new house. What do you see here at Allie Brandt?
I've never had a lot of luck here, so this isn't one of my best houses. I came and did a little practice yesterday. I think I got a good game plan, just got to make good shots and adjust to this house a little bit better.
Well, what's the secret to being in such mid-season form in July?
Tons of practice, bowl you with Brad, just staying active, you know what I mean? Just staying active, bowling, and there is no off season for me.
Well, see, it can be done. So we're going to see some great bowling here in July at Allie Brandt, and our returning champ, Josh Nowak, is going to give us his all, right?
Yes.
All right. Good luck.
Thanks, Sue.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with Pat Brick. Haven't seen you in a while, Pat. Where have you been?
Bowling here and there, out of town bowling some tournaments, and a couple of qualifiers I bowled but didn't make the top 9. So it's been probably 4 or 5 months since I made it, maybe longer than that. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, we know that you're always one of those, one of the bowlers that really keep active with the local tournaments going around. And is that an advantage to you when you come here and see a shot, or you're not always a favorite of the house shot, are you?
Not necessarily, but it comes down to the fact of matching up or not matching up. I mean, I bowled on enough different patterns that I should be good enough to figure out a house shot or a tougher pattern. So, again, it just comes to matching up, getting the right ball in your hand and trying to strike more than the guy you're bowling against.
Well, it's good to see you, and I hope we see you all day.
I hope so, too.
And we get started with our returning champ, Josh Nowak, taking on veteran bowler and one of the more successful bowlers in Western New York, Pat Brick. We haven't seen Pat on our show in a while, but we always know we're going to get good bowling out of Pat. So this should be a really good match. Josh Nowak bowled very well at Tonawanda, winning 3 in a row to advance here to Allie Brandt Lanes. We'll see if he can't keep that win streak going. The guy standing in his way is the 51-year-old from Tonawanda and a Hall of Fame level bowler in Pat Brick. So here we go. It's a month-long stay here in Lockport at Allie Brandt Lanes, and we are underway. And we'll wobble on the 3-pin, and it will not go down on the first throw for Pat Brick.
Yeah, he chose to go with some surface, which can sometimes actually the ball looks like it's not rolling up, but it can be because it's kind of burning out a little bit, so we'll have to see how that plays out for him.
And it's a spare pickup in the first frame for Pat Brick, making his 8th appearance here on Beat the Champ. And now we slide over to our returning champ, Josh Nowak. This is his 6th appearance on Beat the Champ with a solid record of 7 wins and just 3 losses. And of course, as I mentioned, 3 of those 7 wins coming as he swept the final week show at Tonawanda 2 weeks ago in a good start for the big righty Josh Nowak. We want to welcome in to join us for show number 1, our friend and the owner and proprietor here at Allie Brandt Lanes, Brian Borowski. Fresh off your world travels, you're back home here and hanging out with us, huh? A little bit of a letdown from all your big time trips there, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a busy May and June. I had two of my nephews graduated high school in Iowa, so I had to go down there. Then I'd make a trip to Vegas to help support the Bowling Hall of Fame Museum, and then back home for 10 days and see the grandkids in Denver, and then back to Vegas.
All right, so you've been a busy guy then.
Very busy.
Yeah, well, good. Well, it's good to have you back here. It's always good for us to come here up to really one of the great bowling centers here in Western New York and at Allie Brandt Lanes in Lockport. So we'll see what your lanes have got in store for these guys. And a little bit after that first strike, Josh has got to work the spare here in frame 2. Now, Sue, Josh told you in the interview that ran before the match that already coming into this one, he doesn't necessarily love being here. It's nothing against Brian. He loves Brian. He loves the Allie Brandt Lanes, but he doesn't necessarily love how the lanes love him back.
Well, it's kind of funny because when you are the returning champion, you think the advantage lies with you, but every time we change houses, it's a little bit more of a challenge because they haven't qualified here. And then there's always, like you just said, the predisposition to your thoughts. So we almost have this conversation every month with the incoming bowler, and they'll all say, well, this isn't my favorite, but they all seem to do well at the end of the day.
Yeah,
so
because they're good bowlers, and that's why they're here to begin with. So yeah.
But the last 2 times that they were here, the returning champ went on a big win streak. So
that's true, and I was looking that up, Brian. We've had some really nice win streaks in our 2 previous stops here at Allie Brandt Lanes. Kevin Bianco won 4 in a row here as part of a 10-match winning streak back in 2017, and then shortly after that, David Tolkaz won 4 in a row here as well.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
So a nice groove for Pat. As I mentioned, he's from Tonawanda, age 51, pharmacy technician at Upstate Pharmacy is the full-time occupation for Pat. And the accolades, if you're not familiar with Pat Brick, are pretty significant. Tonawanda Hall of Fame, Buffalo Hall of Fame, numerous local and state titles, a collegiate national championship, winning bowl at ECC in the late 80s, and all kinds of other outstanding achievements for Pat Brick, and so far looking pretty outstanding here with 4 in a row.
I like how he listed won the Lilac Mixed Team event with me.
With Sue Novoisky, how about that?
And even got a smiley face.
He's just buttering up to the TV talent, right? You know how that works. Well, then now you have to tell us. Yeah, boy, missed the line a little bit there and left himself a challenge to Josh Nowak. You have to tell us what it's like to bowl with Pat. What's it like to be Pat's teammate? We'll wait till he comes back up as we see how Josh
what could be
does.
better? He strikes a lot.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Yeah, that shot right there, he definitely got over the top of it. You could actually see his hand roll over the top of the ball and pulled inside of his target by quite a bit.
Oh, nice pickup.
Yep.
Just enough room to sneak it between the 2 of them and clip both pins and get it down. So a good spare.
And you can get in between those without hitting either pin.
So that was not as simple as it looked, or?
No, you can actually, there's enough distance between the 2 pins that you can actually roll the ball in between the 2 and not hit any. Although it doesn't seem like it if you look at it.
It did not to me at all.
It's always funny when it happens, though.
Well, again, so you guys, good bowlers are going to know exactly whether you have enough room to pull that shot off or not, or whether you have to clip one and take the other one out.
We know the odds are you are not going to get in between the 2 of them, but it definitely has happened.
So Josh was able to bounce right back with another strike. Now, Josh bowled really well, averaged 238 in winning those last 3 matches at Tonawanda. The guys that he bowled against put up good scores, but he was just better. So he seems to be finding that groove again. So now back to Pat Brick for frame number 6. And that is 5 in a row. Is there an advantage for a lefty as we watch Pat sort of start to dominate here for either of you guys? Is there an advantage for the lefties on these lanes with this oil pattern?
Well, lefties always have an advantage.
They don't like to hear that. I was very gentle. I was very gentle in the interviews because they don't want to hear about the lefty-righty thing. But there's just, Jason said something very interesting, and it was that because I'm not a left-hander, I don't look at it that way. But definitely from watching left-handers for a lot of years, they do like to play straighter up, where right-handers can seem to be more comfortable getting deeper and opening up the lane. Lefties seem to prefer to keep it a little straighter, and this plays very well straight up.
Well, you just have to look statistically. There are much more right-handed bowlers than left-handed bowlers, so the wear and tear on the lane on the left side, is used a lot less.
True, so they probably, right-handers grow up having to open up the lane, or have that just be a natural part of their game, where left-handers don't really ever have to. I shouldn't say ever, because there are definite times. And that's one thing that I've seen Pat be good at. Pat can get in deeper than you're normally used to seeing left-handers play. And that's definitely an added asset to his game.
Well, then when you get in, like even on the tour and stuff like that, where you need to go inside a little bit more competitive bowling, you need to, be a little bit more.
Be comfortable in that area that you don't see all that often.
Josh Nowak, 8th frame. That is 3 in a row from him. Top qualifier in the round of 24 every month here on Beat the Champ. Wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. That was not Pat Brick, but it was Jeff Holfelder, who we will see later on this month. He was our top 24 qualifier, and he's the one that wins the television. And again, that's every month, including next month's series of qualifying at the Rapids Bowling Center. So Pat Brick has struck 6 times in a row as we move to frame number 8. Gets 7 in a row for Pat Brick, making his cheering section of wife Angela and daughter Maddie very happy here at Allie Brandt Lanes.
You can definitely tell he's definitely playing a lot more inside than what you accustomed to see left-handers. When we see Jason, he's more of a straight-on bowler. Play like right around 5 and all that.
Right.
But he does have the ability to move in if he needs to. But he's more of a rocket to pocket.
Exactly. He's more
direct.
Left to right to left.
Correct.
I'm sorry, left to right.
Left to right.
That is
definitely got away with 1 there.
In a row. He didn't like that at first, did he?
And Nationals.
He thanked Brian for that on his way back.
Yeah, Nationals, that would have been maybe picked off the 4-7.
So Josh Nowak bowling very well, but tough to compete with a guy who's thrown 8 in a row here. And that's where Josh finds himself in the 9th frame, is playing catch-up right now. And he's not going to be able to do it no matter what happens here. And this run for Pat Brick is going to get him a victory. So Josh Nowak, who had won the 3 in a row to advance here to Allie Brandt and had told you that this wasn't necessarily his most favorite bowling center, seemed a little prophetic now because that's going to wind up being the case. Not that he didn't bowl well, but not quite well enough. So Pat Brick is going to win our first match here at Allie Brandt Lanes. He will advance on. We'll talk with Josh and get you ready for match number 2 when we return to Lockport. You're watching Beat the Champ. Well, Josh, a 276 bowled against him makes it very hard for any opponent to win. But knowing that you've said even before the match that this is a place that you don't bowl well at, how much did you have to try to overcome that mindset?
It's just a place I struggle at. I don't know why. I bowl here in league. I sub here all the time. I don't know. I just struggle here, and it's and maybe it is mostly in my head. I don't know, but I just don't bowl well here.
And no real reason for it, huh?
I can't explain it, no.
It doesn't have anything to do with Brian, does it?
No, nothing to do with him.
Well, all right. Well, then it certainly won't have anything to do with it when Brian makes you feel a little better here.
Well, Pat threw the ball great.
Yes, he did.
I threw the ball horrible. He threw it great, so he deserves to go on.
Right. Brian?
All right. Thanks for bowling.
Thanks.
There you go.
All right, Josh Nowak put a nice little run on our returning champion, but it's Pat Brick that moves on. Match number 2 from Lockport is coming up next.
I'm here on Beat the Champ with Jason Ciliberto. 2 months in a row we've seen you out here at Beat the Champ, so you must be in good form for the summer. But what I noticed here at Allie Brandt is a few more left-handers than we've seen. And I know left-handers don't like to be singled out, but what makes the difference between seeing more left-handers versus right-handers?
I think it seems like the shot plays out more, and that usually helps us. We like to play more direct most of the time, most lefties. And it seems like they're pretty easy, so it should be.
Well,
Watch
that's
me
good.
shoot 170 now, though, right?
yeah, Murphy's Law, right. So, I see a couple left-handers out here. It kind of make it a little more difficult for the champion coming back and, maybe give you a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, there are righties that bowl well here, too, so it's not just lefties, but, it seems nice to have all these lefties here.
Well, good luck to you. I hope you're the one of the lefties that go to the top.
All right, thank you.
It's a pair of lefties for match number 2 as Jason Ciliberto will challenge Pat Brick. Jason has been a pretty consistent regular here on Beat the Champ. We saw him last month up at Tonawanda. We get him here again. This is his 5th appearance on the show, and we'll see whether the lefty-lefty matchup favors one of these guys over the other. So here we go, match number 2. And Jason Ciliberto gets it started with a strike.
Well, we know that from the angle of entry that they're using, that their carry is very good. Josh struggled a little bit. He was deeper on the lane, and he didn't have, when he made a mistake, when he topped over the ball, it definitely went higher to the left of the head pin, where the angle of entry for the left-handers are completely different. They're straight up the outside of the lane.
And that was pretty indicative of what you just talked about, straight up the outside, but a little too far outside, because so when it came back, it didn't clip that last pin Pat needed.
The difference between, and you can watch this here when you have 2 left-handers against each other, there's definite differences in their game, and Brian had alluded to it, that Jason will play very left to right. So his direction, wow.
And a big miss there by Pat. He needed that single pin, 3-pin spare, and
that's a rarity right there. You see that happen too often. Jason almost lays the ball down on the one board on the left side, and we'll watch it when he goes up to bowl next. Where Pat opens up the lane just a little bit more. He hooks the ball a little bit more than Jason does, so you'll see definite differences. The last one, he misses the left a little bit. This is much better shot.
And that pretty clearly on display. It's a strike in the second frame for Pat Brick, and he mutters to himself a little bit as he walks back, and that's a tough one to leave there in frame number 1. 3 wins and 4 losses overall record for Jason Ciliberto, the 37-year-old from not far away in Gasport, New York, operations associate at M&T Bank. 3-4 the overall record. I mentioned second month in a row for Jason here on the show. He bowled against Dana Vojtovic in Tonawanda, bowled well, but lost 248 to 228. And of course, Jason always has a little piece of Beat the Champ history, because when we brought the show back in January of 2016 and had our very first match at the Rapids Bowling Center, the winner of that match, Jason Ciliberto.
You see how far left he lines up on the lane. He almost lays the ball going over the top of the gutter.
Yeah, and really crunches the body down there and sort of whips the arm. That's very much different than the way Pat throws, but it's strikes in the first 3 frames for Jason, so a good start for him.
Well, when the lanes are more challenging and their carry is not quite as good, you can maybe make up for an open. On a shot like this, where the scores are high, and great shot to the pocket. It's a little more difficult to make up those opens.
Now that one, Pat got a little bit farther to the right and left the 7-pin, maybe a bit too much to the right.
It was a pretty good shot, and honestly, he hasn't seen a 7-pin yet today. So, but as now they're both playing on the same side, and you're getting more wear on the left-hand side of the lane, you're going to see little nuances, little changes now, because normally you see that a lot on the right-hand side because there's so many more right-handers, but today the left side of the lane is getting a lot more play.
Does a left-hander, just because, as Brian pointed out, just by the sheer averages of it, more than likely they're bowling a right-hander. When they bowl another lefty, do you have to kind of know that going into it and change your thinking a little bit?
You're just going to anticipate the fact that the lanes are going to change a little bit, but you can see where the other person's playing. So just as a right-hander would, you can almost know how things are going to play out because you're watching where they're playing. So he knows Jason's a little bit to the left of him, which means because he opens the ball up and he opens lane up, gets the ball a little bit into Jason's spot, that spot will break down because Jason's right in that spot. So that's how we got to think about that while we're bowling, is not only what are we doing, what is the people on our pair doing, and how are they affecting how the lanes are going to break down. So you have to almost anticipate that and watch what balls they're using and where in the lane that they're playing.
There's Janelle Sabin on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard shows us perfect through the first 4 frames for Jason Ciliberto, making Mom Joan and Dad Greg that are here cheering him on very happy. I mentioned 37 years old is Jason Ciliberto. He has been bowling since a very early age. He's been bowling for 33 of those 37 years. Bowls regularly right here at Allie Brandt Lanes on Tuesday nights and then at Transit Lanes on Wednesdays. One almost hopped a little bit as he threw it, and I don't know whether what you heard there was him not happy with it, but the results were fine.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. I mean, the one thing Jason is seeing is he can miss a little bit left and still strike. He loves that left to right thing. So if he pulls a little bit and the ball just sits there, he just is in his wheelhouse. I mean, he's in a real comfortable area right now.
Right over the number 1 arrow, right to the pocket, all 10 pins down. It's a 6th consecutive strike for Jason Ciliberto.
It's still a 41 pin advantage. It's just huge, six frames in.
2005 New York State Masters champ, 2015 Tri-City Masters champion, and a past champion of the Lockport City Tournament Scratch All Events title. So nice resume for Jason Ciliberto. 33 300 games in his career. 25 800 series. 7 in a row.
That shot right there was as good as it gets. You saw that he got very low, stayed down with the shot, great follow through. And because now he's just getting loose, it's shown him he's got a lot of room on the lane. He's gonna strike. It just gets so easy to get your swing loose when that happens.
7th frame now for Pat.
Also a great shot right there.
Doing what he can to keep the heat on if Jason slips up. Don't forget, next month we're going to move to the Rapids Bowling Center, not all that far away from here in Niagara County and Niagara Falls. And the top qualifier in the round of 24 wins a television valued at $500 from Dirt Cheap TV. There you see, it's perfect through 7 for Ciliberto on the Castellone scoreboard. Meanwhile, Pat Brick has thrown 4 strikes in a row. And make it 5.
He's throwing it so good too. I mean, that one, it really came down to one bad shot. That first one out of the gate. And sometimes after you've had a little bit of a wait.
An open in the first, a spare in the third, perfect the rest of the way, but perfect through every frame in the first 7 is Jason Ciliberto. Perfect through 8. Little wait, had a waitable moment on the 10 pin there, wasn't quite sure. And boy, you talk about a great slugger's battle in this match.
I mean,
Jason may have to be perfect in order to win this match. See the focus, determination on Jason Ciliberto's face. Perfect through the first 9 frames. And now Pat Brick, who's thrown 5 strikes in a row himself.
well, at this point, he's just going through the motions to get out of Jason's way because, you know, Jason's looking for that 300.
So a nice effort here and a nice run by Pat Brick. It's not going to be enough, but not much you can do when the other guy is knocking everything down. A little shake of the hands there from Pat Brick to Jason Ciliberto. And Pat will finish things out here. So one more here for Pat. Boy, that looked like a pendulum swinging back and forth there, and it wouldn't go down.
He just wants to finish up so Jason can not lose his momentum.
Yep. And let the spotlight shine on Jason Ciliberto here as Pat Brick finishes out the 10th frame. So it's going to be a 1-win, 1-loss appearance here at Allie Brandt Lanes for Pat Brick. His final score goes up on the board as a 227. Respectable, good, just not going to be enough. So 10th frame now for Jason Ciliberto. Trying to become just the 3rd Beat the Champ bowler to throw a perfect game here on the show. First of the 3 that he needs in the 10th frame. Mike D'Amico did it in May of 2017 at Manor Two Lanes. Paul Geiger did it in Jamestown just this past May. Those have been our 2 300 games here on Beat the Champ. Will Jason Ciliberto add his name to the list? It's the second roll of the 10th frame.
Good shot.
And it rolls over and takes out the 7 pin for another strike.
Awesome. That was a great shot, too. But you can tell you're going to get a little bit more sweat on your hands. No matter how many times you've been in this position, it's still, you know, you can't control everything that your body's going to do, and you definitely start to sweat a little bit more. Jace changed that ball coming off your hand just a hair.
So one more for Jason Ciliberto. Got a little lucky there with that one. Let's see if he can finish off the 300 game.
Good shot.
There it is. A perfect 300 game for Jason Ciliberto to advance to our next match here on Beat the Champ, and handshakes and congratulations and perfect across the board on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, plus a $200 bonus from WBBZ to Jason for rolling the 300 game. What a great moment for Jason. What a cool moment here to get us started up in Lockport. We'll come back and get you ready for our third match of the day when the always exciting Beat the Champ returns right after this. Well, Pat, you bowled well, but when a guy throws a 300 game against you, it's not only exciting for us, but even maybe a little exciting for you too.
It's fine. Jason's a great bowler. I bowled with him a long time, and if I'm going to lose, I might as well lose to a perfect game. So that makes it feel a little bit better.
Yeah. Well, Maddie, your daughter Maddie, you want to evaluate Dad's performance there for us? What'd you think?
So-so.
All right, there you go. Expert analysis from deep inside the Brick family there. Brian, pretty good stuff, not just from him.
Congratulations. Maddie, this goes to you, I guess, right?
It will eventually. It will eventually. So 1 win, 1 loss for Pat. Jason Ciliberto, after the amazing perfect game, continues to bowl. We'll get you ready and have our next match when we return to Allie Brandt Lanes. Beat the Champ comes back right after this.
I'm here at Beat the Champ with John Danielewicz, another familiar face. This seems to be the week of familiar faces. All of you guys out here this week we've seen a lot of you in the last couple months. What's the secret to being in mid-season form in July?
Just constantly bowling and coming out for the qualifying rounds.
Well, that seems to be the constant, is that you have to keep bowling, even though kind of in your mind, people's minds, it's an off-season for bowling. But I know that I crossed with you on Tuesdays rather, at Transit, so I know how good you're bowling. Is that part of it, bowling on that sports shot once a week?
Oh yeah, that helps out a lot. Gets you to know when to move, and the spares are the most important thing on those sports shots. So.
Well, you always look good to me. No matter what shot they put out there, you look pretty awesome. It doesn't even look that challenging.
It is. I just get lucky sometimes. So.
All right, we'll get lucky this week here at Allie Brandt.
I'll try.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, next up for Mr. Perfect, Jason Ciliberto. The opponent is John Danielewicz, another Beat the Champ veteran. But what a performance. The 34th career 300 game for Jason Ciliberto. You tell me, Sue, what is going on here at Allie Brandt? In our first match, Pat Brick rolled 9 strikes in a row. In our second match, Jason, of course, rolls 12 strikes in a row. Whatever's going on here up in Lockport, the bowlers are loving it. And there's another one for Jason to get it started.
Well, I really like the way Jason is able to play the lanes. He doesn't have to open them up at all, where that got Pat into a little bit of trouble because he opens the lanes up a little bit, meaning he goes a little bit more to left of target. So he's more right to left, where Jason just can stay left to right, play up that gutter, have a little bit of oil to his right, have a little bit of dry to his left. It almost feels like we're not going to see him miss. I mean, it sounds unrealistic, but right now it almost feels like it.
This is 60-year-old John Danielewicz from Sanborn making his 7th appearance on Beat the Champ. 4 wins and 4 losses. Last time we saw John was a couple of months ago, earlier in the year at the Kearns Avenue Bowling Center, where he wound up being one of the victims of Pete Maduri's long winning streak that stretched 7 in a row. But we've had John on the show numerous times, and he is a good, experienced veteran bowler who has been bowling, by his words, a long time.
Yeah.
He didn't even put a year. He didn't put how many years he's been bowling, which means it's a long time.
He definitely is in that keep it simple aspect of the game. He's very down and in, very consistent in his approach. Nothing fancy, not trying to like rip the cover off the ball. He can just stay where he's comfortable, and he cannot be sold short. He is such a solid bowler.
So this is going to be a good test, because obviously Jason is bowling great, full of confidence right now. feeling good, not only about where he's bowling, but how he's bowling. Let's see how he follows it up. And, you know, it's funny. You bowl the 300, you come right back and bowl again. So anything else is generally a letdown a little bit.
Right.
But unless you can do it again.
Right. You're right. Normally after a 300 game, you got that adrenaline and it starts to flow. But if you notice, his demeanor is just so even keel. Like, you can't tell whether he was shooting 300.
He might be one of the least emotional bowlers we ever have on the show.
We did get a smile out of him.
Yes, we did. That doesn't happen very often.
But that's one of the things that's going to help him maintain what he's doing, because there's no letdown or, you know, no adrenaline switch for him. So he's just steady.
And shockingly, it's a pin that is left by Jason Ciliberto, the 7th here in frame 3. So the run of what winds up being 14 consecutive strikes comes to an end, but that's okay. I'll tell you what, there is just nothing to me. Watching somebody try to go for 300 games is one of the most exciting things in sports, and you know, a no-hitter, a perfect game in baseball, same kind of a feeling, but there's just a vibe and an anticipation and a buzz in the crowd when they know there's a chance that it's going to happen, and then to see it, and then to go back to that the second ball of the 10th frame where that 7-pin hung up for about 2 seconds, but till the messenger rolled over and knocked it down, and you're like, okay, he's got the lucky breaks going.
And that's just the perfect. You can say it now that the messenger came by and took it out, but that's just the perfect way to cap off a game like that.
Yeah. You need a little luck, right? You always got to have a little bit of luck. And boy, John kind of lost the momentum on that one.
Well, his ball speed was a little slow, and he really did get over the top of the ball, similar to what we saw Jason do. And they don't have. There is a lot of oil in the middle, but they could overdo it. You know, it can go high, and both these guys on the right side, I saw the same thing happen.
So John was good enough to get the spare out of it. So it's been strike, strike, spare for both guys through the first 3 frames. And it's shaping up as a good match between Jason Ciliberto and John Danielewicz to wrap up week number 1 here. And Allie Brandt Lanes in Lockport will be here for the next 3 weeks, next 2 weeks of competition, and then our always fun and exciting exhibition match coming up in a couple of weeks. You got a quick glance at Janelle on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
Just the waves of bowling, the emotion, because John knew going up that if he struck there, he was going to put a lot of pressure on Jason, because that double would have, against his open, would have created quite a gap. And it's like, do you give it that little bit extra oomph? Do you overthink it a hair?
Strike in the 6th for John Danielewicz. 5 amateur bowlers tour titles on the name of the 60-year-old veteran bowler from here in Western New York. Bowls on Mondays up in Lewiston, Wednesdays at Transit, Fridays at the Bowlodrome, so he stays busy, and he's retired, which means he has all kinds of time to stay busy bowling. It's the nice thing about that. Well-deserved retirement. 6th frame for Jason Ciliberto. There, that
was
looked
a great shot right there.
exactly like the ones in the last game. So what a great start we're off to here at Allie Brandt Lanes in Lockport. Good match in the first, Brick beating Nowak, and then the 300 with Ciliberto over Brick in match 2. This one looks like it's coming right down to the stretch, and we're here for the next 2 weeks. We've got some good names coming up on next week's show. Andy Reddick, Joe Doherty, Rob Gaddis, a couple of guys making their debuts here on Beat the Champ. So we got some new faces and new names to throw your way, starting with next week's show. That's always good. We've had such a lineup of bowlers that we've seen over 2.5 years. It's nice to see some new names every once in a while, and it also lets everybody know that you are still have the chance to get on this show and make your debut.
That's right. And over the summer months when maybe people do a little bit less bowling, even the really good bowlers don't bowl 4 or 5 nights a week like they do during the fall, and leaves a little bit of an opening for other people to start to make an impact and make the show.
7th frame now for John Danielewicz. I came right straight on the head pin, but that was actually a little more left than he wanted to be.
Well,
so.
I'm thinking that the consistent thing that we're seeing is that this is on lane 34. He keeps going high. That was the same lane that Josh went high on. So there could be something to that lane that they're not figuring out.
And a good spare pickup of that picket fence for John Danielewicz. Next month, we move to the Rapids Bowling Center. Qualifying dates, we'll have those for you. But the top qualifier of the round of 24 wins a television valued at $500 from our friends at Dirt Cheap TV.
This match is back to even. Jason can actually go ahead with a strike.
And once again, a couple of pins on the right side holding up there for John Danielewicz. So this one's going to come right down to the end. How often in the summer times when you were bowling at your peak did you feel like you needed to bowl summer just to stay? I mean, you didn't shut it down completely, right?
Most of the time I did. Early on.
I'm surprised to hear that.
Early on, in the college years, there was a great sweeper at airport lanes, and almost every bowler bowled it. I mean, it was so strong that it actually had a girls' division, and there was 100 and way over 100 bowlers in just the guys' division, and it was full. 60 lanes was full. So at that time, we kept bowling in the summer.
That's 3 in a row for Jason Ciliberto, 6, 7, and 8.
But that was, it's been a long time. I mean, normally, once nationals are over, I get my bowling balls sent home, and they're in their box. And I open up the box for the kickoff tournament, which is.
The only reason I say I'm surprised is just that I would think, while there are benefits to, as you said, to shutting it down a little bit, I would think that just you'd want to at least once a week or whatever just to sort of keep things moving in the right direction.
This year, I've definitely had more of an ambition to stay practicing. And I've had taken a couple weeks off now because I've picked up some shifts at work, but I will get back to it. And I think it's a good opportunity to practice and to, make those changes to your game or, perfect your bowling balls, make sure your grip feels right, because your hands change over the years, and that's what the best part about summer is, that if you stay on it, you get all that corrected for when the season does start.
Got a quick glance at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. Janelle keeping us up to date on what's still a tight match, but maybe Jason with a chance to pull away here. He's working 4 strikes in a row, and John seems to have sort of lost the rhythm here a little bit. And a cluster of pins being left here in the ninth frame.
Lane 34 has just been the same shot over and over and over again. That high ball's just biting up it's almost in the mid lane where the ball hooks.
And that's going to be an open in the ninth for John, not what he needed in this tight match that will actually clinch the match for Jason Ciliberto. So those 4 strikes in a row for Jason were key as he finds the rhythm. It's going to get him a win. So he follows up the 300 game with a win over John Danielewicz and advances on to next week's show. Jason Ciliberto ends with 7 consecutive strikes to beat John Danielewicz 245 to 190. When you go into a match, John, with a guy who's just coming off a 300 game, do you figure you're in for a little bit of a challenge?
Oh, I knew I was in a challenge when I seen him practicing this morning. He was locked in, so I tried to do my best, but it wasn't good enough.
Well, you put a pretty good fight onto him. Brian, make John feel a little better here.
Go, John. Thanks for bowling.
Yep.
All right.
See you next time.
Sue, you're with the man of the day here, the man of the hour.
Congratulations, by the way, in the 300 game.
Thanks.
Is there any kind of emotional letdown or adrenaline letdown when you go into the next match after a 300 game?
It was kind of relief, honestly. That was the first 300 with commentary. So.
Well, that just shows you why you're so successful, because that's the way you looked at it, and that's why you came through with the match the way you did. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Sue, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we'll always live on in Jason's life, because 30 years from now, when he goes back to watch that 300 game, it's going to be you and me that are going to be yakking about it there. But it was a lot of fun, and we hope you enjoyed it. Our third ever 300 game on Beat the Champ. And guess what? Jason's coming back next week with a chance to maybe add another one. Not to put too much pressure on him. Sue and I will wrap up week number 1 here in Lockport when we return right after this. Well, I would say we're off to a pretty good start here at Allie Brandt Lanes, huh?
Yeah, my God, who expected to see 300 right out of the gate? And, you know, what can you say? It's going to be a lot of 4 weeks of excitement here.
Yeah, it looks like the lanes are set up for us to have good scores and exciting matches, and good for Jason. We've seen him on the show a lot, never really been able to put together a lot of wins, so happy for him. He's one of those really good bowlers in town, and he's got the spotlight on him, and guess what? He comes back again next week.
Right, and I love what he said, that he was just relieved when the 300 was over and went into the next match, because it just shows you how mental this game is and how your perception is really reality. It doesn't have to be a letdown after you shoot 300.
Yeah, Janelle, the easiest scoreboard you'll ever work is a 300 game, but I know we felt it. Could you feel the buzz in this place when it looked like Jason was going to get that?
Yeah, it was really exciting. You know, we never know what to expect, especially when we're at our first week at a new center, and we never know what the lane conditions are going to be, so I'm excited for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, we are. We're going to be back here again. Jason advances. We'll see him against 3 new bowlers. Make sure you're with us. You never know what's going to happen here on Beat the Champ. We'll see you next week from Lockport.